You've probably seen it everywhere: crystal clear waters, palm-fringed beaches, and smiling locals. The Philippines is often painted as the ultimate tropical paradise, and on paper it looks like you can live here for pennies compared to the West. But here's the twist. Paradise isn't always cheap. Yes, rent and food may be affordable, but beneath the surface lie the hidden costs most people don't talk about. Visa renewals, mandatory insurances, sky-high utility bills, expensive private schools, medical emergencies, unreliable internet, and even cultural adjustments like Filipino time and endless red tape. These aren't just inconveniences, they're costs, both financial and emotional, that can make or break your dream of island living. So today we're unmasking the shocking real cost of Philippine paradise, from daily dollars to bureaucratic mazes, and from healthcare pitfalls to hidden emergencies. This is the reality behind the postcard. This video will get more interesting, so don't skip any part and watch to the end. The question is, after you see the true price, will paradise still be worth it? First on our list, rent and food, the illusion of cheap living. Let's start with the good news. Rent and food in the Philippines can be dramatically cheaper than in the West. A modern one-bedroom condo in Cebu City or Davao might run between $400 to $700 a month. A simple local meal of rice, vegetables, and meat costs just $2 to $3. Even a restaurant dinner for two can be under $20. It sounds amazing, right? And yes, compared to Los Angeles, New York, or Sydney, it's a steal. But here's the catch. This cheap paradise image often ends at the basics. Once you factor in the other expenses, the cost picture becomes much more complicated. Section 2. The reality of visas and immigration costs. Unless you're married to a Filipino or have a retirement visa, you'll need to deal with tourist visa renewals. A 30-day stay is free for many nationalities, but after that, extensions kick in. A 2-month extension costs around $60, $150, and you'll have to keep renewing every couple of months. Over a full year, that's anywhere from $600 to $1,200, plus the time and hassle of lining up at immigration offices. And don't forget the Alien Certificate of Registration, ACR card, for longer stays, which adds another $50 plus fee. For many first-time expats, these visa costs come as a big surprise. Section 3. Healthcare and insurance. This is where paradise can turn stressful. Yes, the Philippines has hospitals, but quality varies dramatically. PhilHealth, the public insurance system, costs only about $400 a year, but coverage is limited. If you want access to private hospitals with modern facilities, you'll need private insurance. That can range from $1,000 to $3,000 per year, depending on your age and health. And here's something most people don't realize. Even with insurance, you're often required to pay upfront in cash before hospitals treat you. Reimbursement comes later. Imagine needing $5,000 on hand during an emergency. That's a huge reality check for many foreigners. Section 4. Transportation costs, cheap rides, expensive reality. The Philippines is famous for jeepneys, tricycles, and colorful local transport. A short ride costs less than $1, which feels like a dream. But daily life often tells a different story. Fuel prices. Gasoline here is expensive, around $1.30, $1.50 per liter, or $5.50, $6 per gallon. Traffic. In Manila, traffic is ranked among the worst in the world. A 5-mile trip can take an hour. Ride-hailing Grab is the main ride-hailing app, and while convenient, it's no longer cheap. A short 20-minute ride can be $6, $8 during normal hours, but surge pricing can double that. If you live outside the city, transportation becomes less predictable. Jeepneys and buses run irregular schedules, and comfort is not guaranteed. Section 5. Utilities and connectivity. Here's where the hidden costs hit hardest. Electricity. The Philippines has some of the highest power rates in Asia. Running air conditioning daily in a small apartment can push bills to $150, $250 per month. Brownouts. Power outages, called brownouts, are common, especially on smaller islands. No AC, no lights, no internet. Sometimes for hours. Internet. Yes, fiber internet is available, but it's not always reliable. A plan might cost $40, $60 monthly, but actual speeds often fall short. Many expats end up paying extra for backup pocket Wi-Fi or mobile data. For remote workers or digital nomads, this is often the biggest frustration. A beachfront cottage looks amazing until the Wi-Fi cuts out in the middle of a Zoom call. When people imagine living in the Philippines, they often think of white beaches, not white hospital walls, or school tuition bills. But if you're serious about moving here long-term, healthcare and education are two of the biggest hidden costs you'll face. Healthcare accessibility. The public healthcare system exists, but most foreigners find it inadequate for anything beyond the basics. Hospitals are often overcrowded with long waits and limited facilities. That's why many expats rely on private hospitals. And while the care is much better, the costs can be shocking. For example, one expat in Manila shared how a simple appendectomy, appendix removal, cost him around $4,500 up front, even with insurance. He had to pay in cash before the surgery and only got reimbursed later. Another foreigner in Cebu had a motorcycle accident. The ER bill for 2 nights in the hospital plus x-rays and treatment came out to nearly P300,000 pesos, about $5,300. Again, cash up front. Educational choices. Now let's talk about families. Many expats assume they'll just send their kids to local schools, but the reality is different. For example, International School Manila, ISM. Tuition ranges from $12,000 to $15,000 per child per year. Brent International School, Manila Clark, around $10,000 annually. Smaller private schools, still $4,000, $6,000 a year, plus uniforms, books, and extracurriculars. Add 2 kids into the mix, and suddenly you're paying $20,000 plus a year just for education. An amount that can easily rival tuition back in the US or Europe. Emergency preparedness. And then there's the elephant in the room, natural disasters. In 2013, after Typhoon Yolanda, Haiyan, many foreigners had to be evacuated because local hospitals and services were completely overwhelmed. Those without insurance had to spend $10,000 or more out of pocket for emergency evacuation flights. Some savvy expats now pay for evacuation coverage insurance, which costs around $500, $1,000 per person per year. It guarantees a medical jet or emergency transport to Singapore, Hong Kong, or their home country if disaster strikes. So when you factor in healthcare, education, and emergency preparedness, the cheap paradise dream becomes far more expensive. For singles or retirees, these costs may not hit as hard. But for families or anyone who values security and peace of mind, the healthcare and education equation can be one of the biggest financial challenges of living in the Philippines. Section 8, Final Reality, Check and Call to Action. So, is the Philippines still paradise? Yes, if you know what you're walking into. The beaches are stunning, the people are warm, and the cost of living can be low. But the reality is, paradise isn't free. You'll need to budget for visas, insurance, fuel, electricity, and the occasional frustration of unreliable services. The key is balance. Live like a local when you can, save where it makes sense, but prepare for these hidden costs so you're not blindsided. At the end of the day, the Philippines can give you a beautiful life. But remember, cheap doesn't always mean easy. If you are still finding this video interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe. Section: Navigating the Cultural and Bureaucratic Maze. Living in the Philippines isn't just about budgeting money, it's also about adjusting to an entirely different rhythm of life. The cultural and bureaucratic landscape here can be just as challenging as the financial one. Cultural adjustments. One of the first things expats notice is Filipino time. If a meeting is scheduled at 2 p.m., don't be surprised if it starts at 2:30 or even 3. It's not disrespect, it's cultural. Life here runs at a slower, more relaxed pace, which can frustrate foreigners used to strict punctuality. Then there's the family-centric culture. In the Philippines, family isn't just important, it's everything. Decisions, obligations, and even finances are often tied to extended family networks. As an expat, you'll need to respect these norms, even if they clash with Western ideas of independence. And while English is widely spoken, it's not universal. In smaller towns or rural areas, conversations often switch to Tagalog or local dialects. This can create barriers when dealing with government offices, local businesses, or even neighborhood interactions. Bureaucracy blues. Now let's talk paperwork. The Philippines is famous or infamous for its bureaucracy. Getting permits, licenses, or renewing documents can involve multiple trips, long lines, and sometimes conflicting information depending on who you talk to. For example, something as simple as getting a driver's license or registering a business can take weeks, or even months. Patience is not just helpful, it's essential. And yes, sometimes things move faster if you know the right people or pay facilitation fees, but navigating this maze is part of daily life. Expat anecdote. One foreigner shared how it took him 3 full months to process all the documents needed to import his car legally, because every office had different requirements. Expat anecdote. One foreigner shared how it took him 3 full months to process all the documents needed to import his car legally, because every office had different requirements. Safety and security. Finally, let's address personal safety. The Philippines is generally welcoming and friendly, but like anywhere, it has its risks. Petty crimes like pickpocketing or bag snatching are common in crowded areas. Expats also need to watch out for common scams, from overpriced taxi rides to fake investment opportunities. In some parts of the country, especially conflict-prone areas in Mindanao, foreigners are advised not to travel at all due to security concerns. Practical tip: many expats invest in gated communities, personal drivers, or private security services. These add another layer of cost but also peace of mind. Practical tip: many expats invest in gated communities, personal drivers, or private security services. These add another layer of cost but also peace of mind. So while paradise may look effortless on postcards, the reality is different. Between adjusting to Filipino time, navigating layers of red tape, and staying alert to safety risks, expats quickly learn that cultural and bureaucratic adaptation is just as important as financial planning. So while paradise may look effortless on postcards, the reality is different. Between adjusting to Filipino time, navigating layers of red tape, and staying alert to safety risks, expats quickly learn that cultural and bureaucratic adaptation is just as important as financial planning. Now your script has 3 powerful hidden challenge sections: healthcare and education equation, cultural and bureaucratic maze, the earlier financial/utility/transportation breakdowns. Section: the true value. Is paradise still worth it? After peeling back the layers of daily life in the Philippines, costs, bureaucracy, healthcare, education, and hidden challenges, you're probably wondering, is it still worth it? Recap of real costs. Let's quickly sum it up. Yes, rent and food can be cheap, but then come the visa renewals, private insurance, rising utility bills, expensive fuel, unreliable internet, and costly international schools. Add cultural adjustments, the maze of bureaucracy, and the reality of emergency preparedness, and suddenly cheap paradise doesn't look so cheap anymore. Weighing the pros and cons. On the pro side, the Philippines offers stunning beaches, year-round warm weather, a lower baseline cost of living compared to the West, and some of the most welcoming, English-speaking people in Asia. The sense of community, friendliness, and tropical lifestyle are things money can't always buy. On the con side, there's bureaucratic red tape, inconsistent infrastructure, higher than expected costs for comfort and safety, and the ever-present risk of natural disasters. It's a mix of beauty and frustration, affordability and hidden expense, paradise and reality. Final verdict and actionable advice. So, what's the final verdict? Living in the Philippines can be paradise, but only if you come prepared, both financially and mentally. Here are 3 strategies for making it work. 1. Budget beyond rent and food. Plan for hidden costs, healthcare, visas, utilities, and schooling if you have kids. 2. Embrace the culture. Learn patience with Filipino time, respect family values, and pick up some Tagalog or local dialect to bridge gaps. 3. Plan for emergencies. Whether it's evacuation insurance, backup power, or a second internet connection, being prepared can save you from disasters big and small. At the end of the day, the Philippines isn't a one-size-fits-all paradise. For some, it's an affordable dream life. For others, the hidden costs and challenges make it unsustainable. The real question is, does this version of paradise align with your expectations? So tell me in the comments, would you still pack your bags for the Philippines after hearing the real costs of paradise? If this video gave you a new perspective, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into expat life and global living, and share it with someone dreaming of tropical living. Because paradise is never free, and sometimes knowing the real price is the only way to decide if it's truly worth it.